Hello, everybody, and welcome back to part two of the user research resume critiques. If you haven't already seen part one, it would be helpful for you to go back because I am going to cover similar things and probably reference back to things that I spoke about in part one. You don't have to listen to it if you don't want to, but it might be helpful. But in case you haven't, the entire point of this two-part series is to review and critique user research resumes that were anonymously sent into me. Well, I have anonymized them, and to showcase these critiques live so that more people can learn and get real life examples of how a hiring manager might look at a resume and think about it and then critique it. So again, big shout out and big thank you to the people who did submit their resumes for this. I couldn't have obviously done this without them. So thank you all so much. We have 4 resumes to get through in this particular series, part of the series. So let's go on and dive in because I only have about 45 minutes. So let's do it. So here we have our first resume. This is the only resume that wasn't PDF. So I had to download it as a Word document, which is like generally okay, but I would recommend PDFing everything that you can. It's just more likely and easier for the person who is opening it. Because I know a lot of people might not have Microsoft Word on their computer. So just a small thing. It also helps, like you can create something in Canva that is actually quite, pretty, I don't know, aesthetically pleasing and aligned and everything like that, and then export it as a PDF. So I do recommend doing that as opposed to using Microsoft Word, just because of the ease of a PDF. And I'm so sorry, I will be drinking caffeine during this video. Okay, so the struggle here, I asked everybody who submitted to submit a struggle that they were having, the number one. And so we have, the struggle is repeatedly redoing it for every application and impact as a mostly generative new product researcher and academic background, making it relevant to industry. So I actually get this question a lot. Should I redo my resume for every single job? No, you shouldn't have to do that because that would also be horrible. I've done it before and it's not worth it. I've tested this out. It's not worth it. I've had a lot of other people test this out too. It's not worth it. The only thing that I would say you should change for is if you are looking at like a different type of role. So qualitative versus mixed methods versus quantitative, right? Or if you read in the job description that they want somebody to skew more toward like survey writing, or you look at the job description and you see that it is, let's say, a very early stage company who has not ever done research before, then you want to kind of include statements, impact statements in your resume. So your bullet points that have to do with things like that. Those are the only times that I would really say like customize your resume. So by the role type, so qual versus mixed methods versus quant. And then if there is something in there that's particularly important, that stands out, that's like different from the general job description. So such as like that early stage startup, never done research, never been a part of this, have no foundation, then you could like put in a bullet point about how you've built a foundation before if you've done that. Or if they want to skew towards surveys, you write down about an impactful survey project. But the like real personalization, I guess, would come more in the case study. So don't worry too much about the resume. As I've said in other ones here, get rid of this. Unless it is something that you are so super unique at. So if you are like trilingual and can do research in like all those languages, if you've lived in like multiple cultures around the world and have like such a deep understanding of cultural nuance, right? Those are things that are particularly like that wouldn't make it naturally into your bullet points, but are something that's like interesting to bring up. Another one is that I had a researcher who I was helping, who specialized in accessibility. That might not show up in your bullet points, so that would be something to call out. So like this could be interesting if you are like a specialist with vulnerable populations and accessibility or healthcare, and especially if you want to stay in that space, that's when this could be helpful. But all of this like is not really worth it, and just takes up space. Okay, so we have, I would take out all of this. Like you shouldn't, like the only thing that needs to be here is the bullet points. So I'm actually going to, can I do editing? Let's say if I'm reviewing. Okay, well, sure, it's doing that. Okay, so again, take this out. I excel at uncovering, yeah. Customer motivations and behaviors, especially among, tech workers, is fine. Like, it's more like if this was something that you would highlight and want to just like keep in, you could. Get rid of all of that because everything should be in your bullet points. So again, everybody needs to stop doing this. It's just not like, you don't need an introduction, right? So, here we go. Let's just get rid of all of this because it's not useful. And again, we should have fewer bullet points here, right? I know I said up to 7, but really we're looking at 3 to 5. It depends on how much research you have, but you have quite a lot of research. Also, good stuff here to put this at the end. When was this? I don't know what year this is. I'd recommend putting in your years, just so that people can understand that. But okay, let's go from here. So we've talked about how each bullet point should be a sentence. So taking out anything that is not okay, cool. That seemed to be the only one. And not saying things that are obvious or job description like. So created an organizational research focused cultural shift and successfully influenced design and leadership by building a research program. This doesn't say anything that is like unique to you. I assume that as a senior user researcher, you should be able to do this. I assume that that's kind of interesting, but like the problem, so I would get rid of this. And because it's too broad, it's not specific to you. This gets a little bit interesting. Democratized a report that summarized insights from 35 enterprise customer calls and scientist research, showcasing how to prioritize needs to frame product. Okay. And so this is where it all comes down, like all of these, X number of PMs, engineers, and designers to create a mixed method survey about user perception of workplace privacy. Okay, so which resulted in guiding X amount of high-level engineering decisions about user locational data collection. So this one as well, what did this lead to? So continuously trying to push forward, what is the point? What is that final outcome? What is the thing that what was the final thing that this all led to? So it's great that this framed product feature prioritization, but again, what was the ultimate outcome, right? The last thing, like the bigger thing that happened because of it. Because you can showcase how to prioritize user needs and frame product feature prioritization, but so what? What did that lead to in your particular organization? What is the thing that came out of that? How were people better? like the before and the after. How about this? Before this mixed method survey about perception of workplace privacy and these decisions, what was the before? What was the after? Okay. Jobs to be done, X number of personas, X number of journeys. I would say journey maps, like to be, and needs prioritization that created a working design framework, which was showcased. Okay, that's cool. You don't need that. We can conference, right? That's easy. But like, was there something in here that helped your teams? Because it's great that it was at a conference, but like, what did it lead to as well? Like in terms of the change, what was the change? What were people able to do because of this? Same here. What were people able to do because of this permanent research resource, like for future searches or studies? But like, what did this lead to? Like, was there efficiency in research being done? You know, were there fewer repeated research requests? Like, what did it save you, your team, the business, right? What was that final outcome? Partnered with data science to identify and reduce X amount of. So whenever you can put in a number, put in a number. And no double sentence. Led to insights. Okay, shoot. Insights led to, which led to resource retasking and a reduction in underutilized features. Okay, but like, again, what was the final outcome? Like, did this mean that like user satisfaction went up? Was there like more task success? Like, what was the thing? Like, again, what was the final thing? Like, great, we reduced you can say reduction, like a X percentage reduction in underutilized features. That could be the last thing, but if you wanted to push yourself, like you could say, and like heightened customer satisfaction. Partnering with Content UX to create. Okay, so what final decisions? Pick a final decision that's like badass and talk about that one. Talk about the one final decision. When we just say broad things like final decisions, we actually don't get like that much specificity, which then means I don't, as a hiring manager, get that specificity. I want your cool shit that you did specifically. Yeah, anything under 10, write out. But like, again, who cares? Like, what was the point of this? Right? Like, what was the outcome? What did this lead to? Like, were the researchers able to focus on more strategic research, which then led to what? Like, what did this lead to? Again, what did this lead to? This is interesting. But like, again, like, is there anything else? Is there like is there something deeper that you can go into here? So yeah, I hope that is helpful for this. I'm going to send this back to this person with all my red marker stuff. But yeah, I hope that was helpful for that one. So that one's done. And now let's head over here. Great. What is the problem? Up until now, I've had a hard time quantifying achievements, though now that I have more data-driven bullets, I'm not sure if it tells the story I want to. Don't get too caught up on storytelling in your resume. It's bullet points. It's not going to be beautiful. Again, I would get rid of this because unless you are a systems expert, unless you're like Kate Towsey, who's like research operations and systems expert, right? Unless you are, oh my gosh, Allison's name, I think, I need to know now. Hold on. Okay, yes, it was Allison Jones. Unless you're Allison Jones and you're like really, really awesome and great at like repositories and have done it. Just, yeah, I would get rid of this. Okay, cool. We have professional experience. Get rid of this. It's not worth it. Okay, interesting. Yeah, this is okay to include. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, let's focus on this. I'm not like clean. I'm not a sport support specialist, right? So this one, I want to do my best with um, talking through this. So transformed onboarding and admin collaboration for, so write out 4 state branches, creating systems and resources that support 100 plus staff, equipping 27 local reps, and improving clarity, consistency, and cross. What does this mean? This is like really vague. I have no idea what this means. Like, what was the outcome? Like, what did this lead to? Like, what is one thing that like this was the outcome of? Because this to me reads, and I hate to say and be like this, but in a very straightforward me, it's very a straightforward tone. It's very fluffy. Like it has a lot of like words in it, but I'm not actually sure what it means. Like, so can you pick one thing that came out of this? What is one like badass killer thing that came out of this? Like where you're like, yeah, like hell yeah, this is great. Created a scalable auto text system currently being implemented across 6 states. So again, writing out these numbers, 7 teams, projected to save 2 full-time roles annually by automating. Okay. Interesting. That one's okay. Developed a Wisconsin total loss paperwork resource praised as awesome and thorough by leadership. Now host on a regular. I mean, that's kind of like, I've never seen something like this. And I'm kind of like, oh, now I want to do this. I actually really like this, but be careful. I'm like a weird hiring manager, a little bit sometimes where I can be like, yeah, this is kind of cool, but maybe not everybody will view that way. So this is so used regularly by 65 plus team members for onboarding and documentation accuracy. So what did that get? Like, why was it awesome and thorough? Why did leadership say that? Like, what did it save the business? What did it save the teams? What did it save the people? Like, again, choose one thing that was like, and this is the thing that it changed. Like, did it make something more efficient, more effective, more usable? Did it reduce time in something? Did it increase productivity? Did it like come up with like a little bit more about like, okay, what is the one thing that I want to say that this thing did? Top rated session in innovation. Pure research. Okay, so this one I can talk about. Supported research efforts through loan-in work. I'm not sure what that means. Duck Creek usability testing. So, but what we have here is, I think the stuff that you found led to changes, which meant that users can now complete tasks 43% faster with 36% fewer errors. I would just make that a little bit more clear, as in like, conducted usability testing, which led to insights and changes, resulting in users being able to complete tasks 43% faster with 36% fewer errors. This one I'm not sure of because I'm not really sure what this is. And I'm also not sure what this, like, I'm not sure how these play into what might be helpful for you. So I personally would get rid of them and talk about like more things like this, like these, and really get into the nitty gritty of like what it is that you did. And like what outcomes you have achieved for the business or for teams or for people. I'm not good. UX strategist and creative director. Okay. Okay. Co-founded a civic tech that reached 20,000 people in underserved communities, increasing voter engagement by 18%. Okay, so interesting. This is great, but you've shoved everything in to one. And like, I would say, what do you want to highlight here? Is it the user research? Because then you could say, instead of like co-founded a civic tech initiative, what you could say is that, well, you have that you're a co-founder here, so you don't really need to worry about that much. You could say like conducted whatever type of user research, so whatever that is, which led to with over 20,000 people, which led to an increase in voter engagement by 18%, or like led user research, which highlighted accessibility issues, which were fixed, and then increased voter engagement by 18%. Yeah, you have a lot of stuff here. You do like a little bit of everything. Again, this would be, I would just talk more about the research. If you're applying to research, talk more about research. Um, and you could have this as like, imagine you had like 4 bullet points here. Like 3 of them should be just about the user research and the impact that had. And then you could include this one because it's great that you were able to raise money. Okay, great. Here, led an accessibility audit of 100 plus training resources, improving clarity, usability, and representation across 18 key assets to align with inclusive design standards. And what did this lead to? Like, what was the final outcome? Again, really going back to that final outcome. Like, what is it that this allowed the team, the business, or people to do better? What was your before and after? Before this, what was happening, and what did you enable by doing this? And I would really take that mindset and say, like, apply that to everything. What did this work enable in the final outcome? This is great. So, like, do more of this. I hate when I'm a fiction writer, and I hate when my coach like highlights something in my like story and he's like, do less of this and do more of this. But this is great because we have streamlined this many sales stories into 100 high impact, so this many high impact assets using a custom Excel tool. Try not to use M dashes too much. Instead, say which resulted in growing project ownership from 5% to 95% in 1 quarter through agile cross-functional collaboration. That's really great. That's like clear. That was like the final outcome. Unless there's even more, you could potentially say, but this one is really great, and I would use this as like a model for the rest of your statement. So really thinking about what did this enable? What did this lead to? Okay, let's go with this one. Now, what is our struggle? It's too wordy and I've fallen into using lots of jargon. Did we do this? I feel like we did this. Now I am suspicious. Give me 1 second. No, we haven't. We just found something similar. So, never lead with the skills that pay the bills. Just kidding. I've had too much caffeine. Lead with your experience. That experience is the one, like, experience is the thing that matters. Skills do not matter because you should be showcasing your skills in your experience. So I would take out all of like this, or move it into your bullet points that are relevant. And then move your skills like underneath, like a lot of other people, like this. But like on the second page. And move some of these to, potentially like your bullet points if it works. But let's look at the experience. Why is everybody doing this? Is this the ChatGPT? Yeah. Vibe? Okay. It's funny that you say that this is wordy because I feel like it's not very wordy. It's not enough words, especially in here. It's too wordy up here and not wordy enough down here. Okay, so stop doing these. Not only is it a waste of space and words, it does look very ChatGPT. So if you're going to use ChatGPT, don't use it like that. Here we have matching complex user scenarios with future technologies and service interventions. Okay, leading fundamental research projects, utilizing sound judgment. Okay, so I don't know what you do for your job. I read this and I honestly, I don't really know what you do, which I know sounds harsh, but I promise I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm just trying to be helpful. What I need here is like, what are the things that you are doing that you really want to highlight about your work, right? So this sounds cool. I don't know what this means, but this sounds like innovation type research. And please, okay, yes, I did. I feel like I did innovation type research, but yeah. So like for instance, this, I mean, it's not the same like matching complex user scenarios with future technologies and service interventions, but like if you're talking about any sort of innovation, so here, led 18 generative research sessions, which culminated in a new innovative product offering, increasing revenue by 4%. So I increased our market share, I increased our revenue, I increased our product offering through these sessions because the generative research told us that we were missing like a certain product, and we were then able to create that and offer it to the audience. The same thing could go if you are doing research and you found a new segment that you have that the company like wasn't targeting before that could be a good fit, which would again increase market share, increase revenue. So I'm wondering if that might be something that could be helpful for you. So really put in like this is way too vague. So really it's about putting in like the specific things, like specific moments in time of projects that you have done. So leading fundamental research projects at the intersection of media and societies. Yeah, this is like too broad. So leading fundamental research projects is too like you should be able to do that. So it's like, what is one research project that had a huge impact on your team and on your organization, and talk about that one. I don't know what this, like, you're using judgment and evidence-based analysis to make good choices. Like, okay, then showcase one time where there was a conflict and you worked through the conflict and it resulted in something being better, right? Think about your before and afters here. This doesn't have any like before and after. Leadership is great. I'm just gonna try and find. I know that my like resume isn't the best resume in the world because I haven't updated it. So developed and managed 4 direct reports in both qualitative and quantitative research, leading to 2 promotions, right? So what is it that you have actually like done for your team? Like what did like what do you mean by achieving goals? Like was your team able to like achieve something in particular that they weren't able to before? Did you help them with achieving something in particular, and what was that? So let me try and think of other ways to do it outside of like the promotion space. One thing that I did with one of my former teams is that I reduced meeting time by a certain percentage on my team, which allowed them to be more productive and get X amount of research done, much more percent of research done. Another one was the team's goal was to do more generative research. So I fostered like training and educational training and educational workshops where I taught and democratized usability testing to X amount of designers, which enabled my research team to do X percentage more of generative research, right? And then any sort of, if there's like an inclusivity metric that you want to use as well, that's where you can do that. But we really, really need here like actual before and afters and actual snapshots of your work. Like this. It's not like pick a specific one from this circumstance. That would be really, really helpful. Right here, like what does this mean? This would be so I want to know what that means. Like pick a snapshot of something from here, before and after. Like before you combine these research approaches to explore alternative success metrics, what was it like? And then what was the after effect of it? Research to inform guidelines, product strategies, and feature improvements. Yeah, this is a bit more, again, on the generic side. This is interesting. So how did you do this? And what was the impact of it? So championed accessibility with X amount of designers and researchers by doing this thing, which resulted in what? Like, what was the end of it? Was design X percentage more accessible? Did you lead to X percentage increase in more diverse research participants, right? Like there has to be an outcome here. How do you use data and analytics to identify these challenges? And then what is the after effect of those? Interesting. How many external suppliers take one accessibility need and say, this is how, like, which resulted in us solving this accessibility need, right? Take one example rather than all of them. So when you have this range here, like I'm assuming this is a bit on the consultancy side, you'll see here that I did some consultancy work. I did a lot more than this, but like I could only include so much because I wanted to focus on full-time roles. So I picked two of my coolest and like clients where I did the coolest stuff. But it might be worth you doing that here. So instead of this like really broad stuff here, which doesn't tell me as a hiring manager anything really, listing out a few different clients and going and thinking, what was the before, what was the after, what were some snapshots of things that I did, what were three, and usually with consultancy work, I only do like 2 or 3, especially if you have quite a few. So if I were to update my resume, which maybe I'll do something like that, I would update it with, because I do consultancy now, I would start, because I have, I would probably name this as like past consultancy and like do another consultancy thing up here. So what you need here is to list out several clients and do like specific bullet points. Like there needs to be more specificity in this, because unfortunately I'm reading this and I don't know what you've done. Like I can't be like, wow, this person did X, Y, and Z. And like the reason that I need that is because I need to say, this person did X, Y, and Z successfully at that company or at these companies. So that means that they can solve our problems at this company. Like I know then that I am hiring a person who has successfully done these things at other companies. And I know that you have done that successfully because you tell me specific snapshots of what you have done, right? So that I'm not sitting there being like, well, like, try and put yourself in the shoes of a hiring manager. If I read a resume where somebody says, I have led complex research projects, I'm like, okay, but like I assume so, but like what did that mean for you? Like what were you able to like showcase and demonstrate? What was the impact versus somebody who, writes something that where they led generative research sessions that highlighted a new segment and then increased revenue or increase market share. You don't need to increase like revenue necessarily if you don't know those metrics, but you can still highlight that you've like increased the product offerings by like you've increased the product offerings, which is probably going to increase revenue. You've increased the market share, and then I can say, wow, this person not only did this specific thing, which we need, but they know how to talk about it. And that is the game changer. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. And then we have our last one. Cool. Let me move myself out of the way. I personally like these ones where this stuff is like on the side. And you don't need to like, one thing though, you don't need to repeat like your education and expertise over and over again. You could just do that once. Yeah. I just realized that I didn't X out all the peer-reviewed publications, so hold on. Okay, sorry, my preview decided to stop wanting to work. And now I need to pause again because I need to see the struggle. Okay, so the struggle was just making it impactful. So again, here you don't need to repeat your education and expertise, but great, okay. Again, I would get rid of this. Although you do have like some really interesting like publications, so maybe that might be good if you want to work in like healthcare, to say that you're like almost like a healthcare specialist, like within user research. That again would be something that I would recommend. That's when I would recommend keeping stuff in. But again, it's up to you on that, and it's up to if you want to be like a healthcare researcher only. Because if that's the case, then I would keep in that you specialize in like public health research. Okay. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So no to paragraphs. Paragraphs don't work on this. I'm so mean. I am not going to read your resume. I'm automatically going to say no. If you send me this resume. And that is because it is too hard for me to read. If you can't say things in bullet points and you're paragraphing things, then I'm like, well, how are you going to communicate other things? Is everything going to be a paragraph? And I know that sounds really dramatic, but it is something that goes through my mind. So here I would make sure to just change these all into bullet points. So design and execute user research projects to improve NHS. I would hope so. Like, this is where we get to, again, like, don't waste the space on obvious things, right? So for instance, here, creating stakeholder maps is don't do this. Okay. Sorry. Creating stakeholder maps, my preview is being very buggy, so I'm going to be very careful. That's super interesting. So for me, I'm like, oh, I want to hear more about that. What are these stakeholder maps? How do you create them? And what do they lead to? Like, what's the point of them? What's the outcome? How do you develop inclusive and ethical research methodologies? And what do those lead to? Like, what's the before and after for that? Okay. Yeah, these are all like, this is all just like, I would hope that you would be able to do as a senior researcher. So what about a specific ideation session? Like, what was one that was really cool, that was really good, that you were really proud of, that led to something really interesting? Same with like, was there a particular project that you presented? Was there a particular way that you presented findings? Like for instance, I'm scared to bring mine up. Oh, I don't even have mine open anymore because of the preview. But in one of mine, I started presenting usability issues like via like a bingo nights, and that actually increased the amount of stakeholders that came to the presentation sessions, and then increased the amount of changes that we made on the product because it was like an interesting way for people to ingest the information, right? What kind of internal strategic work? And what does this lead to? How do you manage these stakeholder relationships, and what does that lead to? How many colleagues do you train in research methods? How do you train them in an effective way? What does that lead to? Right? So again, like all of these things need to be in bullet points, and you need to choose specific snapshots that showcase where you can showcase the before and after. You don't need to talk about the before explicitly. I did want to say that. It's not like you have to be like, before I conducted this research, this is what it was, and after I conducted this research, this is what it was, right? But you want to be able to say the after. So in order to do that, you personally need to think about the before and the after, so that when you wrote down that you conducted these generative research sessions, you can say what happened as a result of them, right? So yeah, all of that needs to kind of change to be more about like what kind of conversations, scoping conversations, like, and like what is one way that you've held these scoping conversations that has impacted the team, has impacted people. What are some of the like presentations that you've done that, or research that you've done actually, that has like helped the business, helped customer satisfaction, helped users generally in some way, right? Like what's one particular project? I keep wanting to go to my resume. So I would just completely write down, and I recommend this for everybody, bullet point all of the cool shit that you've done. Like you've done cool stuff, and get specific with it, and make sure that everything that you write down has a before and an after. Well, okay, first things first, write down all the cool shit that you've done, include as many numbers as possible, include as many outcomes as possible. Then go back and look at each bullet point and say, is this the final outcome? Is there a before and an after on this? Is this too broad? Is this too vague? Is there something deeper? Is there a deeper way that I could go into this? And then if there's not, that's okay. There's shit that I've done that like, it just isn't that deep, you know? But like, then I will say, okay, then that's not for the resume. So let me go on to the next bullet point. Is it too broad? Is there something that I could pull out of this? So when I say that I created personas, like I can't just be like, I ran generative research and I created personas. Great. So has every other researcher on the face of the planet, right? So it's like, okay, how much research how many generative research sessions did I do? How many personas did I create? And then what is the one thing that I'm like, this is so cool that those personas led to, right? So like, what is the thing that it's like, okay, like this is awesome. Like this is cool. Like this is one of the things that I want to shout from the rooftop. That's the kind of stuff that you need to look at for your bullet points. And if it's not there, it's not there. That's fine. Take that one out or make that one more specific. So there is a before and after. So there is an outcome. So you can say, this is what changed. That's what you got to do here. And like, instead of like just listing the things, you're listing tasks instead of impact statements. And again, for this part, when I shared, last time I shared formulas of impact statements that you can use, and those are in the show notes of this one as well, right? So you can go through those formulas and you can say, where can I put in the stuff that I have done personally? And again, get specific. Don't talk about things in broad strokes, because the broader you are, the more you sound like you're just writing a job description on a resume, and the less I am able to say, this is how this person fits into our organization. If you've created personas, that's great. If we need personas, that's awesome. But like, I need to know as a hiring manager, what did you do with those personas? Because we all know that personas personas can go and like die in a Google Drive folder and nothing will happen with them. That's what, and I've created crappy personas, right? And so as a hiring manager, I'm looking for people who can articulate what they have done, because if you can articulate this on your resume, then you can articulate things to execs, to PMs, to designers. You can articulate the impact of stuff. If you are showcasing that, you are demonstrating that on your resume by writing a great resume. And you're making my life easier, right? So quickly here, again, the same. I'm not great at information analyst. I've looked at a few, but this isn't my specialty. But same here, like, how did you support their quality improvement initiatives? How did you make strategic decisions, and what did that lead to? What kind of research projects and what did those lead to? What did those enable people to do? How did that help your team? How did that help your organization? How did you share these findings like in an effective way, and what did that like enable, right? So, and like, how was that? Like, how did you help this junior analyst, right? How did you help this PSO, right? So really get clear, get into the specifics, get into those weeds, get in them, get into those weeds, and like list all this stuff out. Cut out the stuff that doesn't feel like it has a strong impact, that feels like it's too vague. Get really specific. Make sure there's a final outcome that showcases what this changed, what this enabled, what the after was, and use those bullet points. And you know what? I don't care if there's only 3 or 4. Those bullet points, those 3 or 4 bullet points are better than 7 general vague bullet points. So, okay, I'm going to stop there because I have to run myself. And I hope all of that was helpful and that you got a lot out of this. If you can, please support me by becoming a paid subscriber. It just enables me to do even more of this content over time, which hopefully I can do. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you all soon.